First, let me thank you. It's always an honor to be an artist considered for a project this important. And this was a difficult one. I really struggled with it because I felt it needed to be a personal statement at the highest level. So I couldn't decide on a single or multiple subject matters that could tell this story as strongly or as clearly as I felt it needed to be told. So I didn't really create a sculpture. I created two sculptures that are going to be involved in a visual environment. And this environment is going to have gardens and pathways and benches and a memorial plaque. But you kind of have to imagine more an environment than single sculptures. Now, what I'd like to do is to walk through the narrative of these two sculptures. The first sculpture, which is going to be up above, is titled Terror, Grief, and Hope. And these are words that came from a request from the community to consider their feelings about what a sculpture that talked about the Waldon Canyon fire might say. And then the second one, which I thought was critical, was called A Community Rises, which also has community words in it. So there seems to be two parts to this story: the tragedy, the natural tragedy, the chaos, the terror, and the horror. And then the second very important story, and that is a community that faced a challenge and is now building themselves out of it. So let me walk you through the narrative real quickly of this very first one, Terror, Grief, and Hope. Now, this is going to be quite large in length, not in height, but in length. It'd be about the height of a normal backyard fence, about 7 feet tall, probably about 22 to 23 feet long. It's going to be made out of heavy metal plates, and these plates will be in multiple relief layers, and they'll have cut elements in them so that there's holes through this also, visual holes. On the right side, we start with Waldon Canyon and the jogger, who first smelled the smoke, and then the confusion between the jogger's communication to the sheriff's dispatch woman about the possibility of a fire and then the smoke. And next we go to a tree, and the tree is on fire on one side, indicating the start of the fire. And then these shapes up here not only indicate smoke, but this tremendous wind that whipped up, natural wind that came in that helped fuel the fire. I chose a bighorn sheep as one of the natural animals that, of course, suffered and fled from the fire. And so that's the starting series of plates, these plates right here. All the backgrounds are the mountains surrounding Colorado Springs and mountain shadows and other areas, so that it's truly a description of a time in a place. Now we go to the three largest plates in the drawing, in the sculpture, and that's going to be images of the heroic firefighters. But their bodies are different. It's not just a description of contemporary firefighters. Part of the problem I had, I grew up in the West in mountains very similar to this, and fires were a big part of our life and my life growing up. And in my research, firefighting in the West is somewhat traditional, the equipment, the people, the approach. And so I wanted to use these firefighters differently, whether they're smoke jumpers or local firefighters. And so their body plates are a narrative. So you got to imagine sort of an organic page in a book. The first firefighter shows some of the beautiful houses that are in the area, and they're in normal form, but behind them you have the fury of this fire in the mountains in the background. And one of the comments that came up numerous times in community words was the word surreal. And I think all three of these body plates describing stages of the fire are somewhat surreal. So the three firefighters have three stages of the fire. The middle firefighter, the male firefighter, he's the largest figure in the sculpture, shows the devastation to the natural landscape. And again, a comment from the community was it almost seemed like a lunar landscape. Well, these burnt out trees are sort of haunting. They have a strange sort of character about them that I found fascinating. But the whole background is going to be this engulfed flame. And then we go to the houses themselves. Now, of course, as we all know, this fire created more money damage, residential cost damage than any fire in the history of Colorado. But the interesting thing, or the compelling thing, was parts of the frame showed in the photographs describing the fire, and they showed as dark, but yet the fire showed through these homes and showed into the background as they were being devastated. Again, it just had this strangely haunting. I can't think of a better word than horrific and haunting. And then you have a fire fighting helicopter dropping